Last night I binge watched all 3 episodes of the new Netflix series American Murder: Gabby Petito. And then I could not sleep. And it received, obviously, from all of the footage in this documentary series, a lot of attention in late 2021. And I was not paying attention to it at all. I was in the middle of trying to escape my own emotionally abusive relationship. So I was really glad that the race issue in this case, or the racism issue of the amount of attention that some people get and while other people are ignored, that was named at least. But there was something else that wasn't named that really bothered me. So I am here to name it today. And that's this, that no one ever uses the word narcissism, that no one ever identifies what's happening as a narcissistically abusive relationship. And if you know what they are, you can just tell right away that this is one. Number one, it happens really fast, right? They meet, they fall madly in love, and then suddenly they're moving from Long Island to Florida together. Suddenly they're engaged. Suddenly they've launched they're going off on their van life trip without even saying goodbye to their friends. Everything is really fast. Number two is that her partner was really threatened by Gabby having friends, hated her friends, would have really like pouty, manipulative meltdowns about her spending time with her only girlfriend when he has removed her to Florida where they're living with his parents. That is another telltale sign. Three, that clearly the partner, the boyfriend, comes from a narcissistic family system. His mother is really nice to his new girlfriend at first, and then suddenly she starts acting like she's jealous of her. And number four, that when Gabby shines, her partner gets sullen. That when she's making her videos, when she's filming herself, and there's a lot of this unedited footage in the documentary, that he's pouty, withdrawn, or somehow subtly sabotaging. Definitely not helpful with the whole project that's her plan to support them. They cannot stand it when you shine. So despite all of these hallmarks of narcissistic abuse, the word narcissism is never, ever used in the series. Instead, we hear about domestic violence because when they do come under the purview of the authorities, they both have marks on their bodies. They've been hitting each other, and which makes the whole situation a little bit murky. Who's the victim? Who's the aggressor? Even though he's a lot bigger than she is. So Gabby's parents, part of their response to their grief is to pass legislation, Gabby's law, that has like 12 questions that police are now required, I believe in Utah, to ask all domestic violence, suspected victims. That's great, but I don't think it's going to make any difference, really. And this is another thing. This is probably my point five of like what's happening in this relationship that shows it's a narcissistically abusive relationship. Is just the amount of shame. I mean, narcissists hold a lot of shame themselves so that when that gets activated, they offload it, project it, throw it at you. And so there's a lot of shame in this relationship. And she's like taking the shame. There's a shame in admitting that she's in a relationship. This is horrible. She's obviously in very close contact with all four of her parents that she's close to. She doesn't tell them this, none of it. She's ashamed to come forward with what she's experiencing. I know that psychoeducation is not everything. It is not the same as healing what has happened to you, what was already there inside that made you vulnerable to this in the first place. But it's really important to have this awareness, to call it what it is, so that you can recognize it and recognize that they're not going to change, that your love cannot save them, that you cannot fix them, that things will never go back to being the way that they were, that you can't trust them. They do not have your best interests at heart. And the Gabby Petito story is an extreme case that ends with murder, where narcissism slides into sociopathy. But I think that in all cases of narcissistic abuse, if you stay in a narcissistically abusive relationship, it will kill you. You will end up with an autoimmune disorder, with cancer, with some kind of chronic illness, because it is just too stressful day in and day out to be living with this kind of lack of accountability, blame shifting, raging, unpredictability. It's really more than an organism can handle. So it's so important to educate yourself about narcissistic personality disorder, about narcissistic abuse. And I say, cut them off, leave them, go no contact. We're really seeing in the United States now on a national level what happens when people just continue to act as enablers. It's really dangerous.